Hello, this is the Aeimnestus Ancient Battle Realism Submod for Divide Et Impera mod for Rome Total War 2. So we're 3 layers down in development teams here. Anyway, I'm just bringing you this quick video to demonstrate what this particular submod changes in the game. Its main change is going to be visible in the battle, so I'm going to bring you a battle. It's a pretty generic fight between a Roman manipular sort of formation and a big horde of barbarians. I think it was the British there. I like to kill my own kinsmen, that's why. Anyway, this map's actually not very good. It's covered in fog, unfortunately, so it's a bit annoying for us actually seeing what's going on. Hopefully be able to get the message across. So I'm going to quickly form up in the standard manipular formation, and then we'll get going. Right, now the battle is starting properly. I just stood there, I didn't do anything, even though I actually have a downhill advantage here. Probably should have moved at some point, but wasn't really bothered, so I just let the enemy come to me. I'm going to begin fighting. So first, the quick skirmish phase. The enemy have moved forward skirmishers. The enemy skirmishers didn't do very well here. I think the AI might have freaked out a bit. They only threw a few of their javelins, but my javelinmen did a fairly good job of taking out a couple of their men. But it's not the absolutely devastating blows that you usually see. I mean, you saw just there the enemy threw a huge barrage of javelins, but I lost, I don't know, maybe 10 men as a result. So that's the first major difference, and the major theme of what is different about this mod is that the killing rate is lower, and I mean it's much lower. It's down to the ground. I mean, if you don't have battle time on infinite, it's very possible that a battle could go for the standard like 40 to 60 minutes, and both sides pretty much lose nobody. It's that low. So the fighting has now begun on the front. This is the fighting that will never end unless we actually try and do something to make it end. If I just sat here, the enemy just sit here, these front lines are just going to engage indefinitely, and that is a deliberate feature of the mod. You can see here, the enemy general seems to be trying to ride his chariots pretty deep into the Roman ranks there. Not sure what his plan is. I think he gets taken out fairly early on, which we'll probably see in a moment. You can see I had actually put some cavalry out to the flank, so I did actually move a little bit during the time between the enemy's deployment and them getting to me. The enemy actually also have started out flanking me with cavalry, cheeky bugger, so it's lucky I put my cavalry out there to meet them. It'll be the same deal with those cavalry battles. Once my cavalry starts engaging with theirs, they'll just fight like forever. They'll fight until the end of the battle. Both sides will be exhausted, maybe they'll lose a couple of men on each side. The whole idea behind this concept is that it's going to give us a realistic looking final result to the battle. So it's not trying to say that it was actually kind of impossible for these Roman soldiers to die and that they could just fight on indefinitely, and that likewise the barbarian warriors we're seeing here are just so mighty that they can't be killed, so the mod has changed it so they just never die. It's more about the fact that a realistic classical battle wasn't really about front lines grinding on each other. It is more about just the ebb and flow of the feeling of the battle affecting the morale of both sides, and eventually something would happen in the battle where one side just decides it's going to lose and would start falling back en masse, and usually that's where the casualties would happen in a battle. When they'd start falling back, the attacking army would pursue them, sometimes for extreme distances, attempting to inflict casualties on them, and the final result would be that a defeated army might have lost something like 30 to 40% of its men. So this mod is attempting to reproduce that idea. So you'll see, if you look at the unit cards on the bottom, the front lines have been engaging for a couple of minutes now, and we haven't seen any extreme casualties at all. If this was vanilla Rome, we would expect these frontline units to have lost half their men at this stage, but actually they've pretty much lost no one. I think I've lost 1 or 2 troops so far in these first couple of minutes. Out here on the flanks, the cavalry are attempting to fight each other, as I said. Oh, and there goes the enemy general, so I guess he did hack too far into our ranks and got killed. Now, killing the enemy general is going to demoralise the enemy, and you can see their chariots are going away. Interestingly, a couple of enemy regiments are also falling back. These regiments are at extreme strength. They're pretty much fine. They're at full strength. They're not tired, but they've just shattered because of the morale shock of the general dying. So the basic idea behind the whole Divide Et Impera mod is that it makes morale a more important part of battles, and that battles are more about attempting to shock the enemy into falling back and then killing them as they rout than it is about grinding them against your front line. And this Ancient Battle submod is taking that basically to the extreme, to the the level that it would have been true historically. So it's taking it further beyond just a gameplay modification. Now it's a complete modification to the strategies that you'll be able to use. For some reason, one of my use of cavalry is right out here on the edge of the map. I guess I told them to attack an enemy and then we ran away the whole time. So they've been pursued right to the edge. Both sides are pretty tight and they're fighting a pretty even battle. For some reason, these enemy scout cavalrymen are pretty much equal in stats to the Roman equites, so they're just going to be fighting an even battle forever. So what's going on the front line? The Hastati are still going at it with these enemy generic warriors. I think it probably would have been more impressive if I had given the enemy a more powerful army. I've given the enemy a whole bunch of just like the tier 2 barbarian units, like the sword bands and spear bands, so not quite just all the rubbish levies that you get, who probably would have just broken immediately. So a unit that will hold its ground. I think the Hastati here are sort of equivalently matched unit to these tier 2 barbarian units. They're probably a bit worse actually. In this case they're holding quite well. So yes, I think you probably get the idea of what's going on here. This huge battle you can see going on before me is not going to end unless I do anything. And I wasn't actually really doing anything when I played this, because I was just watching the battle animations, having a good time. So this battle probably would have been less long if I'd actually attempted to do something. So I've got a line of Principes and a line of Triarii, who I'm not doing anything with, because I wanted to just sit there in the manipulative formation thinking, oh, maybe the Hastari will fall back at some point. But actually the enemy weren't powerful enough to overcome them. So I wasn't losing any men, my morale wasn't going down because my army isn't losing any troops and the enemy aren't moving, so there's no outmaneuvering happening. So you just kind of get into this morale deadlock where neither side is really having anything happen to it. And I would say this is a bit of a gameplay downside to this mod. At the moment we're in a certain version, version 1.2 this is in, so if it's been updated since then I can't say so much about it. But yes, personally for me I'd find that perhaps if I don't know, I think if morale had a more, if outflanking did more damage to morale, I guess, perhaps it'd be more useful. So at the moment some of these units are outflanked, but because they didn't break, they'll just never break because they're not losing any troops, if you know what I mean. So once two sides have sort of become locked into their states of morale, they never change because overall they're not actually losing any troops. Probably not so true if we're using more elite units, but these kind of well-matched front lines aren't really doing anything against each other. They will just fight forever. Both sides will get exhausted, which will sap their morale, but if it doesn't go down enough for them to break, then they will never break, and this fight will go on forever. Interesting to watch the animations, it definitely is. It's good to see some nice sturdy front lines. Interesting to see actually the effects of all the cumulative patches. I mean, these front lines are very stable and fighting in formation properly. This is the sort of gameplay people wanted to see when Rome was originally released, and of course it not being here was a lot of outrage, so it's good to see here. So yes, as I said, I guess you know where this is going, so maybe I will start skipping forward a bit to a bit later on in the battle. I'm pretty sure these guys just fought at it for another 10 minutes or so, so let's see what's happening a bit later on. So I've taken a bunch of troops from the back lines of the Roman army and have come around the right flank to attack the enemy. The enemy actually incredibly cleverly started out left flanking me at the same time. So actually all we did was extend the battle lines rather than do a proper flanking maneuver. But the things were coming up on the screen saying the morale shots for being attacked in flank were present. So I guess it did count as a flank attack in the game's calculations, but it didn't really look like one. You see another huge brawl has ensued in this forest on the right flank as a result. More epic animations to view, but still I think I'm going to have to put a little bit more work in to break this enemy force. Right now we're a couple of minutes later on, and this time I'm going around the enemy's left flank. They don't have anyone to stop me, so I actually can outflank them in this situation. Looks like I'm sending a few Hastati and some Triarii to do the outflanking. So now the enemy should be getting a little bit worried, seeing me coming around the edge like that. I was trying to flank further around the right, but my men are kind of locked in place by the couple of guys engaging them from the front, so that's kind of annoying. I did get some javelin men up to throw into that huge horde of enemy troops standing around there. Suddenly I'm told the battle is turning in my favour. Bang! The entire enemy army routs at once. So I guess this is what I was talking about earlier, when the enemy just decides they're not going to win, and you can kind of see it happening here in the game. So this is very interesting. The entire enemy army, still with most of its strength remaining, begins falling back, and this is where the killing happens. They've decided they're not going to be able to beat me, but that decision is going to cost many of them their lives. I send a few units out to chase down the enemy. I couldn't really be bothered to fully chase them down. I think really to get the mod's proper effects, you don't want to chase down the enemy completely. You want to kind of slightly regulate yourself and only chase them down until you think you've killed about half of them, because realistically you wouldn't have been able to kill more than that. It's just the fact that the enemy's pathfinding trying to escape from the battlefield isn't always perfect. That can allow you to destroy pretty much the entire army over the space of about a kilometre of movement. But really, these routes would have gone on for many, many leagues, as they're described in the texts of Plutarch. Anyway, so this is the Ancient Battle Submod for Divide Et Impera. I'm pretty much just bringing you this to show you what it's like. It's a mod that I'm quite interested in and will intend to play with in the future. There's a number of changes on the campaign map as well, but of course to really learn about what this mod changes, you can go to the mod thread at Total War Center. I'll link this in the description below if you're not already watching it at that location. So I think that's pretty much all for now. All that's left is to actually look at the battle results screen and see what the end results of this battle were. So let's quickly go there. So here are the battle results. It actually looks like there were generally fewer deaths than were expected. The Romans lost about 1% of their force. Pretty damn good from the Romans. I guess you expect that from an elite Roman force, not to really lose anyone. The barbarian forces lost, let's see there, sort of 10 to 20% of their men. So I would have expected more. Probably it was just because I didn't actually chase them down on their route very far. I only chased them about halfway across the map and then couldn't be bothered. And I wasn't even using my full army to chase them. But anyway, this is the mod. These are the sorts of results that you'll see from it, and these are the sorts of results that would have happened historically. So a mod that can make for some very interesting campaign storytelling, in my opinion. That's all from me. I hope you enjoy the mod if you do choose to download it.